This is a video to show you how I did this caricature of Bill Murray. That's the final drawing there. And this is the sketch I based it on. So I want to show you from start to finish how I did that sketch and then how I turned the sketch into a digital drawing. First thing you can see here is I searched for a photo. I wanted a recent picture of him, not the young Bill Murray from Ghostbusters. I wanted the older Bill Murray, and that's the photo I picked there on the right. And when I had the photo, I made up a rough plan. I'll show you my rough plan next. When I say plan, I mean I came up with a few ideas about what features stand out, what makes the face different. The plan can be very loose and you might not end up even sticking to it, but I normally find having some kind of a plan for a caricature is better than just drawing by instinct alone. When I searched for Bill Murray, a lot of photos of him with a beard came up. Normally I would use the reference photo with a beard if I have the option, because a beard is a feature that stands out. But also the beard, if it's a full beard, makes things a lot easier for a caricature. I'll show you what I mean now. Here is a caricature I did of a man with a beard. He liked it, and a few people messaged me to say it was a great likeness. They said it's the absolute image of him. But watch this, I'll show you what I mean about beards. I could take that beard and I can move it like that and it's still him. Or over there it's still him. It hardly changes the likeness at all. So that wouldn't work with the eyes or nose. So the point about it, if it's a full beard in a reference photo, it means you can be very loose about the jawline and the chin, and you still get a good likeness. So that's why you would normally choose the reference photo with a beard. The reason I didn't choose a reference photo with the beard is because that would make him into his character from the Life Aquatic movie, which is not what I'm doing here. I'm not doing a character, I'm just doing Bill Murray. I wouldn't normally sketch on top of a screenshot like this. I would normally just mentally make a note of it and start sketching. This is just for the purpose of explaining it. So the first thing I'm seeing that jumps out at me here is the way the lids of his eyes go like that. He's very expressive eyes, so I'm going to be making the eyes bigger. And then his nose is quite big at the end there, bulbous. So make the nose bigger to be in keeping with the bigger eyes. And then his small mouth. You might not see those features the way I see them, that's fine. But as you draw more faces, more things start to jump out at you. And you might pick something different. There's no 100% right answer on how to exaggerate a face, obviously. Here's what I mean about the mouth. You would normally expect to be drawing a mouth in a caricature, something like that, huge. But this one is noticeably not that, so that's worth picking out. I would turn the corner of that mouth up a bit. I think I can see a little bit of an upturn to the right as we're looking at it. So I would be turning that up a little bit. And then the last thing I can see there now is or rather the next thing, is the chin is much the same width as the mouth. So I'll keep that same. That's actually worth making note of. You don't try to exaggerate every single feature. If you did that, you'd end up with something unrecognizable, I think. So mouth and chin, I'm trying to keep them roughly the same width, like that. A lot of artists, when they're drawing a face, they like to start with this. They like to start with the frame of the face like that, and then fill in the features and build on it. I don't usually do it when it's front facing. I usually only do that if the face is angled weirdly. But it's a good method. A lot of very good artists do it, so maybe I should do this. But I didn't in this case, but it's worth mentioning. So what have I decided so far? We're doing expressive eyes like that. Big nose, small mouth and small chin. I can also see that the jawline is very noticeable, so we'll include that in the sketch. Obviously I'm not taking much care with this rough sketch here. I'll have to concentrate more for the real sketch. This is just getting my ideas down. There'll be obviously a large forehead that's very noticeable. Hair at the side, some straggly hair at the top, and the neck is almost the width of the face. The eyebrows are short and thick. Usually I've found you can put the eyebrows uneven, one higher than the other. It usually doesn't hurt the likeness, and it usually adds a bit of expression to the face. It's worth trying out anyway. And that reminds me, the expression is important. If you try to draw the expression. If you can get the person's expression, it'll usually be recognizable as a caricature. Even if you didn't get the features right, the expression is really important. So nearly ready to do the sketch now. Just a couple of more things I want to talk about. Weight in a caricature. So what I mean by that is the typical head shape will be like this. And if you want to exaggerate some features at the bottom, say maybe the chin and the mouth, you'll be adding weight at the bottom and then you have to take it off somewhere else, presumably the forehead. So like in that case. So for example, if you look up caricatures of someone with a big mouth, like say Cameron Diaz, you'll see that the weight is added around the mouth but taken off elsewhere. You see that? You see loads of caricature artists will do it that way. It's just a thing to keep in mind. Weight. And it wouldn't always be like that. Sometimes you might want to take weight off the bottom and add it at the top, obviously. I don't know who that might be. Maybe Rihanna. So, so you might have big ears, small nose. You're adding weight in the ears, taking it off the nose. You might add weight at the nose and small eyes and so on. It's just a thing to keep in mind for your drawings, that the overall face is 100%. So you're going to try and keep at 100%. Wherever you take it off in one place and add it in another, or vice versa. Just a thing to keep in mind. Weight. And the last thing I want to tell you about is the triangle, which is this. From the edges of the eyes to the bottom of the nose, if you pay attention to that, some people, for example, here's a drawing I did of Jack Black, where the triangle is wide and short. And some other people then will have the triangle will be much longer. I don't think I have an example of one that long, but here's a Prince Charles cartoon I did where the triangle is that shape. This is also a good example of where weight has been added and taken off. So I mean, weight has been added in some places, taken off in others. So the idea of the triangle and of weight, they're just two things. If you keep them in mind, if you never heard of either of those before and you're only hearing about them now, your caricature drawing improves immediately just by knowing about them. So I'll be taking weight off down at the bottom because I want to make the forehead big. So something like that, the weight will be coming off like that, I think. But that's obviously, this drawing is rubbish. I'll get to the real sketch in a minute. So that's the entirety of the plan. Let's write out the plan just to recap. I wouldn't usually write it all out like this. Everything so far would normally come from 20 seconds thinking about the face. This all takes much longer to explain than it does to just do it. The reason I'm showing you all this is a lot of people, when they start doing caricatures, they get overwhelmed. They don't know how to proceed. Here we've made a kind of a roadmap. And if we keep this roadmap, this plan in mind while we're drawing, we won't be just relying on instinct or relying on trial and error. We'll have some kind of direction. It'll just be in the back of our mind. And this is one possible way to approach drawing a caricature. Of course, there's other ways. So you see here my plan with the various things. I've got the large eyes, the chin, the extra weight in the top half of the head, cheekbones, jawlines, keeping in mind the triangle, and try to get the expression. And so with all that in mind, so that's our plan. So let's go and do the sketches. I did about 6 sketches until I got one I liked. This one I recorded here was going well up to a certain point. It looked all right up to about here. And then I'm putting in the eyebrows. And then it kind of started to slip away from me a bit. I did the jaw line a bit too wide, I think, and now it looks kind of moon-faced. So you could possibly recognize him in that, but it's not great. I finished it off, but I decided not to use that. So then I did another one. No, not really good. That was terrible. That was slightly better. And then this. Yeah, this one I liked. I followed the same plan for all of them until eventually it clicked. So there's no other formula. It was just trial and error. I just kept at it until I got it. So that was about the 6th one. So then I move on to the digital drawing. For digital drawing, I'm using an old copy of Photoshop CS3, but any of those digital drawing tools will work as long as they have 2 things, as long as they have the ability to do layers and the ability to set opacity, which most of them do. The drawing tablet I have is a Wacom bamboo, so that's also old. It's at least 10 years old. There's my tablet. So I took a photo on my phone of the sketch, and then I took it onto the computer, and then I created a layer on top of that. I set the pen size to 19, set the opacity to 100, and then here I am just tracing the drawing. And when I finished the tracing, I made a small correction to one of the ears, I think, yeah. And then when I finished the tracing, I just hide the layer underneath, and that leaves me with my line drawing. There you go. I use a macro to smooth out the lines. There's different ways of doing it in different software, but so not worth explaining. Your software will have some other way to do it, but it's not even necessary, but I'd like to smooth out the lines. And then you see a layer underneath. I'm tracing again the internal lines, the eyelash or the eyebrows and the laughter lines and the lines under the eyes. And here I have a palette that I've saved with the various colours I use in faces. I just have that to keep the faces consistent for when customers order stuff. When a customer comes back and gets another one off me that he's going to hang on the wall beside the first one, I want the skin tones to be consistent. So I created another layer, coloured in that. Same for the hair. Here I have some pre-drawn irises in the different eye colours. Just saves me a bit of time. I'm using the grey one here that I'm going to add a little touch of blue to. The blue looked a bit too blue. There you go. And so now we just need to add some what they call values, darks and lights. So I'm going to use the red I had, well, not quite red, the lip colour red. Create another layer. You can make it the previous layer a clipping mask if your software does that, but it's not essential. And then I'm just shading in there, you see, just copying from the photo. And some grey around the chin. Something you might like to know, the colour zones of the face. Here's the face. Crudely drawn. So up at the top of the face, you would normally expect to see more whites, lighter colours up there, presumably because the bone is closer to the skin. And in the middle of the face, you'll see a lot more reds where blood vessels are. And then it'll be more grey down towards the bottom. That's a very overdone example of it, but you should see that, and there'll be a touch of green at the bottom often as well. You see that a lot, and the grey is obviously more. You can test it for yourself. Look up a portrait of George Washington. Lights at the top, reds in the middle, grey at the bottom. That one probably shows it better. Lights, reds, greys. So here I am just finishing off with a bit of greys and down towards the chin. And adding the mouth and a touch of white in the mouth. Finishing off the hair. I think this is almost it for the face. People have sent me back caricatures saying it doesn't quite look like the person, and I've done nothing except adjust the eyes so that he's looking at us, and they say, "Ah, that's perfect." So I don't know what the psychology is, but when people see the face more when it's looking at them. So that's pretty much it for this face, I think. So now I start thinking about what am I going to do for a background. We could just stop there, and it's still that'll be fine, but my first thought was to do that Slimer guy from Ghostbusters, but drawn with a cane and, carrying some kind of old age pension card or something. But then I thought that's a bit uncharitable. That's a bit like for somebody who hates Bill Murray trying to be smart. So I won't do that. I decided to do a few items from the films I saw that I liked. So here's the hat from The Life Aquatic. I've speeded up the video here. It's just a drawing of a hat, so nothing really to see. Then I drew this guy from Ghostbusters. What's he called? Stay Puffed. So that's him. Then from the cover of the DVD of Scrooged, there's a skeletal hand holding up a match in a Santa's coat. So that's that. All these are done obviously in different layers. And here is a golf flag to represent Caddyshack. And then for Groundhog Day, I did an alarm clock and a cartoony creature I hope will pass as a groundhog. Yeah, this. And so here I'm just arranging them into position. So move them around a bit till I find a way that suits. Okay. So the last step then is to do the body. Here again I looked up a recent photo. I'll just copy that outfit in that pose. You see the way his shoulders are sloping a bit in that photo. That's worth taking note of. I often draw in red lines like this. Red is easy to see, and it's easy to change the lines to black once they're done. The pose is a part of the caricature that sometimes gets overlooked, but it's worth paying a bit of attention to. Every little thing you can do to add to the likeness is worth doing. So I'm just using the same colours from the photo there. And so that's the finished drawing with the contrast turned up slightly. So that's how I did this illustration of Bill Murray. I hope you got something out of it. Thanks for watching.